Guys, if you can, in the top comment, in the description, PayPal, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, locals, always to support the show. I'd much rather get $5,000 a month from 5,000 people than 5,000 from Rumble, Spotify, and YouTube. I would much rather it be diversified. If you want something in return, get Sport Drink, promo code Tommy's Podcast, Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food, promo code Tommy's Podcast, and a new thing from Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food. They have these MREs, which he's trying to get rid of. Promo code Tommy50, TOMMY 50 at checkout, and you get 50% off. He literally just said on the phone before this, he's like, I'm going to lose money, but I just have to get rid of them. Go get it. If you can't do any of that, I would ask that you guys go to ARC. The link is in the description. Association for the Recovery of Children. It's Special Forces veterans who've been rescuing sex-trafficked children monthly since 1993. 100% success rate. They don't take salaries, and your donations are tax deductible. Please go do that. And if you can't even do that, there's another link to where you can donate frequent flyer miles to them, which reduces overhead costs, which allows them to do more operations. Thank you so much.
Good morning and good afternoon to a lot of you. We are here. We got V the Gorilla and Tommy Carrigan for the first time on the show. I'm actually a fan, Tommy, as we talked about. I've been listening to your show for a little while, and you have all of our friends on the show. Like a lot of the guys that we've had on over the years are on your show. Yeah. Not only that, you have an excellent program. Look into the description, whether it's Rumble, YouTube, whatever you're watching right now. You will see the links over to Tommy. Give his show a listen. I promise you will not be disappointed. I don't know if Tommy's going to make that same promise, though. How you doing, Tommy?
I'm doing very good. Yeah, I wouldn't say you won't be disappointed. I would say it's free and it's voluminous. Everything else you fill in. You find value in that, like you go for it. It's honest. Honestly,
free and voluminous. That was like my motto when I went to like college and I wanted to make sure that I had a good time at the party. I went for free and voluminous.
Correct. Yeah. No, it's yeah. No, I mean, in all seriousness, it's you'll never find me censoring myself or guests, and I really don't do the whole, try to own them. I'll have somebody on that I completely disagree with philosophically, religiously, politically. My point isn't to try to do some slam dunk on them, but rather hear them out. And a lot of people don't like that. They're like, how come you didn't fight back? And I'm like, you can get that on literally every platform, on every cable station, of people screaming at each other about why this politician's good and the other's bad and vice versa. So, I don't censor myself. I don't have any notes going into things. I make it up as I go. I just kind of try to feel my way through it. And yeah, I'm now learning what I thought was like a common thing amongst adults or people with more than a double-digit IQ, that it's okay to hear things you don't disagree with and not have a visceral reaction. I no longer have that assumption. I now realize that a lot of people are incapable of simply hearing ideas they don't like, and that I can't understand it. I don't really want to understand it. But I'd say that's the show, uncensored, and I have on people from all walks of life. And just because I interview them doesn't mean I sign off on everything they say, which, again, I thought was a pretty basic assumption, being adults in a functioning society. That's not. A lot of people don't like that. And so I don't know. It's maybe more of a comment on the human condition or the lack thereof.
Well, hey, V, you were just talking about that with me privately the other day, where we have some guests on and they may not agree with each other. And that's just fine, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, man. We have guests on all the time that might not, and that's the whole thing. People are exposed to different angles and different viewpoints, and it allows people to really think about what's out there. So we're very much against the typical binary thinking that's out there. It's either white or black. It's either left or it's right. No, man, there's a lot of nuance to things, and the more we dig into things, the better off I think the all of society is in general.
So you're saying that society would be better if everybody was non-binary. Okay, good. Thanks, V.
Sure.
Thank you, V.
Exactly. Yep. And anytime, guys.
So to kind of jump into it, Tommy, the audience wants to get to know you a little bit. So how did you get your start, like in podcasting and this whole world? What made you decide to come do this daily torture?
Really long story short, graduated University of Georgia in 2013, got into medical school, spent like 4 years of my life trying to get in. It's probably the coolest achievement. 15,000 people applied, 100 got in, realized I was kind of miserable, didn't want to do it, decided I wasn't going to do it. And then a couple months after that, my older brother took his life, and that really fucked me up. So then for several years, I just kind of spiraled, just drugs, weight gain, real piece of shit. And eventually moved home with my parents at age 26, like 900 miles. It wasn't even like it was down the road from where I grew. It was like middle of, I grew up in Georgia and it was in Maryland. So at 26 was kind of a harsh reality of living at home, being a fucking loser. And, I tried Photoshop, I tried writing, I tried video. I kind of just wanted to be my own boss. And, I was also super depressed. So I was like, if I can't be my own boss, I kind of don't really want to be alive. And I just kept at it for years of just unimaginable, just loneliness. And then always had the gift of gab. And I don't know how much of it's like retroactive memory adjustment, because everyone can look back and go, oh, I felt this, but it's kind of horseshit. I do remember having some inklings in like 2017 and 2015 of like wanting to start a podcast. I don't remember what it was, the impetus, but in 2019 in December, I was like, I might as well just start. And it really just kind of started to groove. I can just talk to people, and it's and the same in anything you work at, you're going to see improvement, exercise, Photoshop, whatever. This was different in that it seemed like I had some inherent ability. Doesn't mean you don't have to work hard and, put in the hours. But in terms of, potential to be a real thing, mind you, at the time I had started, I was 30 years old, living above my parents' garage. They wanted to retire. I kind of had really no way what the fuck I was going to do in life. And it was kind of just a Hail Mary. I got to be honest. I really have no other explanation than, like, I don't know, God smiled on me. In terms of like how I got to where it is today, I don't have any other, and I'm a science-minded guy. I have no other explanation than God smiled on me. I don't know.
So you were talking about how, and I'm, by the way, impressed. You have a certain level of integrity where you're not going to bend the knee, if you will. So you were on YouTube, and you have a medical background, from what you were saying. And did that kind of lead you to what you started to think about during COVID, and what got you going, onto and off of YouTube?
No. And just for reference, I don't have a medical background. I got into med school. I did not go. It's
okay.
Getting into med school, not going is kind of like, I don't know, qualifying to go be in special forces, but not going. If you qualified, it means that you probably got a low body fat percentage and you can run fast. By no means whatsoever does it mean you know a weapon. If you don't go, it's impressive to get past the selection hurdle to be allowed in. It doesn't mean you have the skill. So you can get accepted to flight school, and that's impressive. But if you never went, you're no more a pilot than anybody else. So I don't have a medical background. I have a biology degree, and I got into med school. I got into pharmacy school. But no, it wasn't that. It was kind of, for me, it was pretty simple. I was a sophomore in college. My first day of sophomore year, I got way too high and realized I was kind of being a fucking idiot. And so I was like, I need to stop doing this and start studying. And I kind of just did that nonstop for 3 years and got into med school. Okay. When I graduated, I took mushrooms for the first time and went out into like the woods and meditated. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And I realized that I wanted to be my own boss and make money doing that. And it was a kind of abstract thing. And so all the while I was pursuing that, Photoshop, editing, writing, whatever. To me, it was always in the back of my mind that I'm pursuing this and I'm going through all of these trials because I want to make money being my own boss, doing something I like. And if I'm not going to do that, then I would have to go get a job that I presumably am not my own boss in. And if I'm going to go do that, I'm going to try to do the most good and go back and be a doctor, job security, outstanding member of society, you do some good in the world. And so for me, there was just this flow chart. If I no longer enjoy the thing that I'm doing, and if I cannot control it and control my outcome, then the whole thing is moot, and go and be a doctor. And so, yes, it's free speech and don't submit to censorship. And what happened during COVID was wrong. A lot more of it was I've already committed to go do this thing. What I'm not going to do is make a podcast where I'm not in control, because now it's a job I don't like. And if it's a job you don't like and you're making like $2,000 a month, dude, go be a fucking doctor. Go make more money. Like, and so all the while it was just, if I'm going to do this, I'm gonna enjoy it and I'm gonna do what I want. When I first started interviewing the doctors, no part of me was ever like going on some vendetta. It was more so of a curiosity. You know, I just had on doctors, and it was weird because they were saying things and I'm like oblivious. I'm literally working at a liquor store, 30 years old, like making minimum wage. I'm not paying attention to any of this shit. And it was just odd when I have the first doctor on. He's like, yeah, I don't think these things are safe. And I'm like, well, it's kind of concerning. So I'd have like on another doctor, and they'd be saying all this stuff, and they start saying absurd things where they're like, I've never in all my years practicing, they're like, there's always warnings and stuff. They're like, I've never seen this coordinated effort. And so my ears are kind of perking up, and I'm like, well, this is odd. And I was such an idiot that I thought I would just have on an expert, and then it was the biggest misunderstanding. And so I was just having on doctors more and more, kind of going up the chain. And then finally I got like Dr. McCullough and like Dr. Robert Malone. And I'm like, this guy holds the mRNA patent. And he was very kind of vanilla. He was like, if you're younger, you probably shouldn't get it. It seems like it can fuck up your heart. If you're older, you should get it. Now, he has since revised that and said no one should get it. But this was in July 2021. Right. And I'm like, oh, we got to the bottom of it. It was just a big misunderstanding. And then I got nuked from YouTube. And I was like, what the? So I never set out on this like vendetta to cut. The fact that I have a biology degree is purely coincidental. I never intended to do any of this shit. And so I was like, well, why didn't I bend the knee? Well, one, I think what happened was wrong, and medical autonomy was wrong. But at the core, it was much different. It was like, I'm gonna go do something else. If I have to censor myself, I'm not gonna. So it was actually very like elemental. Like, no, if I can't be my own boss and do what I want, then I'm not gonna do it. Like, that's all it was, and it spiraled into whatever the fuck it is now.
You know, it's that's kind of back in the news now. RFK has been making some changes. They're kind of going after him. You know, I'm always very questioning of whether or not we're being told that things are being fixed and just given these people to make us feel better, and it's just all going to get taken away from us, or whether or not, you know, these people like RFK Jr. are actually going to try to fix things and people are going to finally get arrested and stuff like that. Where do you lie on the continuum of like, hey, there's hope, or we're fucked? Excuse my language.
No, you're good. I think like everything, it's probably somewhere in the middle. I think so like I look at it as like a conspiracy minded person. Like, dude, I was reading books about like the CIA in high school. Like I fucking love all that shit. And the first thing that kind of started to get to me was like when I would see people in the comment section of like early on in the show and be like, this guy's clearly a Fed. He's interviewing all these medical people. And in my mind, I'm like, do you know how much cooler it would be if I was a Fed getting directions from Langley? Like, these people don't know that I actually work at a liquor store. I'm 30 fucking years old and I have no friends. Like, and in my mind, I'm like, so at first I was like, I wish I was a Fed. And then some people are just fucking retarded. They're like, well, how'd you get on that guy? I Googled his name and the words contact information. And I don't mean to sound like some old fashioned, like you go in and you shake their hand and say, I'm Tommy Carrigan. But that's what I did. And so you'd see a pilot come on or a Delta Force operator, which you didn't see, is 50 other emails, 45 of which were unresponded to, 4 of which said no, and 1 of which said, yeah, sure. And so this whole thing of just kind of, you know, so why did I say that? That has made me seem like, wow, if you're on the other end and you know nothing about me, nothing about podcasts, and you just see this dude, and your logical assumption is they're a controlled asset or not, and I'm sitting here going like, it's not that I am or I'm not, it's that I'm in the dark. It has made me start to look at things like national politics and go, conspiracies are true, provably true. We know they're true. The CIA, A Legacy of Ashes by Tim Warner. CIA is Organized Crime by Douglas Valentine. Family of Secrets by Russ Baker. Devil's Chessboard by David Talbot. All these things are provable. 50, 60, 70. You know they are. The Phoenix program. You know all this stuff is real. On the other side, I know from like my own experience that sometimes shit just is. Now, does that change at the national level? Yeah, you'd have to use your logic and say that's not the same as podcasting, dude. You're at the national level of the United States, which for the time being is still the unipolar hegemony. We're shifting to a multipolar world, as you guys said before. That much is clear. You got this nexus of trillion-dollar economies and DARPA and Raytheon and geopolitical maneuvering and resource extraction. Yeah, you're much more likely to have legitimate conspiracies. I would say that you have some people probably legitimately trying, and they're also flawed. I don't mean flawed in that, like General Patton had mistresses and, RFK has mistresses. Yeah, I get that. They're in some manner, they probably are kind of pussies. They're like, I don't want to get killed. And then another things, they probably do valiant things, and you'll never see it. So are there heroes? Is there a white knight? No, but there never has been. That's not a black pill. That's just, there never has been a white knight coming. In general, I try to kind of take the wins where I can. It's okay that we're not doing the vaccine mandates anymore. It seems like Trump is attempting to maybe not walk us into World War III. The border seems to be kind of being plugged up. Censorship, the Twitter files, all those backdoor things, Zuckerberg and YouTube still seems to be doing it. It kind of seems like the censorship machine is slowing down or coming apart. I don't know. I look at that and I'll be like, it's movement in the right direction. Now, could these people be controlled assets? Could these be what word am I looking for? Tactical losses. Let them have this. Let them have Trump in the White House, because we're still doing and then there's credence to what you said. It's like, well, what is still going in the background? $500 billion for more mRNA AI research, Palantir making these systems.
Yeah.
Then you start going, oh, they might be sacrificing smaller wins for the bigger win, a totalitarian technocratic dictatorship. But even then, I think that's all of human history, where it's like, that might be real. They might actually be giving us small wins because they have a bigger idea.
Yeah.
But I think that has also always been in the works for 10,000 years. So very long answer. It seems to be kind of going in a better direction than it was 4 years ago. And I'm happy about that. I don't, but
this kind of goes back to your solo rant, I think, from the other day.
Which one?
You talk about how basically if you're going to be...
Oh, is it a game?
Is it a game? Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. No, and that's what you would do. That's what you would do.
Yeah, you gotta kind of give and take. If you're gonna push people down a path and they start to figure it out, then you gotta let them think that they're free and give them a chance to get out of the path. I think there's another component to that. I think that ultimately they do have to have the consent of the governed. I think if the governed get too upset, they're gonna rebel, and either you're gonna kill all the people or not. Like, are they gonna kill everybody? And that just is ridiculous. I think I think that's unrealistic. As bad as these people may be, I don't believe exterminating all of the people is in their plan. I know some people think that,
and not because they're good people, but because that's not the ideal outcome for them.
It's not going to benefit them the most.
They're going, no, I want more XP. They don't give a shit about it.
Yeah. They don't care. I mean, if exterminating everybody gave them the best
outcome, the move. They do it yesterday. They do it.
Yeah. Exactly. So they want us around for some reason. Or at least they haven't figured out how to kill us all, if that is their best outcome. And there are those who think that. So I do think, though, that if the population understands that we do have a certain level of power, that I think is going to, that's something that we have to continue to push. And it's probably why all of us do this podcasting thing and why we talk about all the things we talk about, because we have a certain level of wanting to make the population aware of at least what we think is going on, such that everybody can move in a direction that holds the parasites at bay. And in the fact that we're able to do this, and we're able to make, let's play the video game idea, the fact that we're able to make them give us little wins Well, then let's just make them give us bigger wins.
That's
if that's the game.
That's a win itself.
Yeah.
If they had total airtight control, you would get no little wins. Well, the little wins they give us is because they're going for a bigger win. Maybe that's still better than, who got no little wins? The entire population of the Soviet Union. What? Like, all right, hey, we're on a spectrum. It's a little better. I'll take it.
Yeah. And then that's I'm not the best chess player, more of a poker guy, but as chess games go, giving away little wins, that can actually cause a runaway from the other side, and they just keep taking your little wins and turn them into big ones. And so, I think we're at a point where not all hope is gone. I think that, and we talk about this quite often in V. This is kind of definitely. I'd love to hear from you on this briefly or not briefly, but I think we're going to experience more pain before. Whatever the last 20 to 50 years has built up to, or 100 years, I think we're going to see more pain before we see relief. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear both you guys' opinion on the broader view of that, the 30,000 foot.
I think when I look at this whole thing, and I think these days I've been wargaming this every single day, multiple times over and over again in my head and from every aspect, especially the financial side of things. We have how many more years with Trump and his administration, right?
Three and
change.
If he makes it,
right? Then we got JD Vance, right? And who the hell is this guy, right? Vance is with Peter Thiel. He's with a bunch of other guys who are into all sorts of weird stuff, right? They're into all sorts of. I mean, the technology that they're pushing. And I don't know if you guys seen that interview where there's some BBC journalist was interviewing Peter Thiel and was literally asked the guy, because, Thiel all of a sudden was like, yeah, I'm like a Christian and, I like to, do all these Christian things and the interviewer was like, well, what if all the stuff you're doing is bringing about the Antichrist? And he just remained quiet.
I saw that. They're like, the fact that he was asked about is he like bringing in the Antichrist. The fact that the answer wasn't an immediate no is horrifying.
He's like, oh fuck, and the whole thing is this: we're heading for a collapse. That is not an if; it's a when. And that when is primarily event driven. So this could literally be, a year, 2, 3 years out. It could possibly be maybe even a little sooner or a little bit longer. Again, it's event driven, and guys like us who do this day in, day out, talking about the stuff, we are reading other people's mail. We're trying to figure out what their next move is and what they're going to do. But the collapse is inevitable. The question becomes, who is going to be pulling the strings? Who's going to be grabbing the levers? Who's going to be the powers that be on the other side of this collapse that will be forming the narrative that's going to be getting into the majority of the heads of the people that are out there in this country? And that's the question I have. Is it going to be the red states versus the blue cities? Because Nick made a lovely point that there's no such thing as blue states, but blue cities. And he's absolutely right. And is it going to be that? Is it going to be more of a balkanization, or will America resurface? Will it be the phoenix rising yet again? Will we be a great nation amongst great nations in the multipolar world, or are we going to lock arms with in some sort of a suicide pact that you see with the Europeans? Right. I mean, and one of the points I've made earlier today in one of our earlier shows is that the European leaders, the mask is off. They're letting you know that, hey, you know what? We're going into a managed decline. It's a techno-neo-feudalism, whether you like it or not. We're going to let the barbarians in through the gate. We're going to rob, rape, and pillage you guys. We're going to give a rat's around. And, oh, by the way, any sort of populist opposition, how about 7 of you guys die in about a week? How's that? How about that? And the mask is off, right? And I don't look. Europeans, man, they're not making they're not coming out. They're not voting themselves out of this particular situation. I just sent this text out to someone, and I want to show you guys this. This is like insanity, right? And I'm gonna, this is I'm gonna give you guys a view of Paris. And of course, we have, when we think of Paris, we think about the city of love, the city of lights, You know, we think about all that stuff. Where's my share screen at? Hold on. Give me 1
You
second.
can come here, have your wine and croissant.
You can have your wine.
The women are beautiful, and there are no people ruining it from the third world, I swear.
No, not at all. Not at all. Okay, now check this out. This is Paris, guys. This is not Somalia. This is not a open wet market in Uganda. This is Paris, the city of lads. The city of lads.
Да, Париж уже не той. Я не думав, що це
Look at that. This is Paris.
Was that after like a crime or something, or like did somebody
No.
ruin the storefront?
No, this is. I don't know why it's paused.
Is
over
that
there.
just what it looks like?
This guy just over there? Yeah, this is what it looks like, dude. You walk through Paris. This is a market. You're walking around. It's crazy. And that's what I'm saying. It's like they have brought this into the very heart of every single Western country out there. And they were trying to do this here until Trump came along, right? And I guess maybe what Tommy was saying earlier, are they giving us the small wins just so that we feel that one side, because it's always been a duality, right? That's the way these elites operate. It's always been about some sort of a duality. We got to give some wins to this side, the right side, the conservative, middle of the road guy, the guy who's slightly right of center. Let's give him some wins. And then in 4 years, what happens next? We've been having this schizophrenic cycle of swinging left and right for quite some time now, the last few decades. And we have that going on. And the question becomes, when we finally go through that economic reset, is it going to be Palantir and Thiel and all these other private equity assholes who have nothing good for us? Or is it going to be the American people? Will we have a republic? Or what the hell is what we're going to have on the other side of this thing? You know, that's the big question. And I do see that there's probably a potential rise of an autocracy, of an autocrat, a strong man. That potential rise there as well. And that's what my spidey senses are telling me in a nutshell. What's your take, guys?
Nick?
Well, I think that's all possible. I think and I'll make this brief, I think we can learn from the left in that what they did with their cancel culture, that's that meme of like two guys dressed normally saying, hey, we want to get married. And the conservatives like, okay, that's reasonable. And then the next thing is, hey, we want to say that we're, whatever. And it just turns into like, tranny story time after a while. So they always doubled down. But the reason that doubling down by them does not work is because they're flipping insane. And the things that they want are like castrating children. But, on the conservative side of things, what do we want? We want freedom. We want autonomy. We want rights. We want to be able to just work and be left alone. And I think if we continue to use whatever tools we have to double down, and never give up, we have a chance. And that's where I'll leave it. Tommy?
More and more, I think the system is so large. The system being Earth, a biosphere with 8 billion self-aware nodes that are looking out for, sex, food, and shelter. More and more, I think it's almost impossible to control for good or bad. And sure, in the past, you could do things. We could also do things when there's a lot less change happening. When you were a blacksmith, your dad was a blacksmith, your granddad's granddad was a blacksmith. And like once in a fucking, zillion years, was there something that changed? The automobile or the printing press or the, sailboat, or the rate at which it's, and I know that's such like a tired, well, the rate of change is, I get it. And Ray Kurzweil says laptops are going to be self-aware 30 years, whatever. It almost seems impossible to control, and it's accelerating so fast. That doesn't mean there won't be attempts. There will absolutely be attempts, and those themselves will probably be catastrophic. Yeah, I don't know. The last 4 years, it seemed so apparent that if you steal an election, you're going to steal every subsequent election, right? Because you can't get found out for your crimes. And you're going to go for it, and you're going to slowly start doing things, and you're going to start censoring, and you're going to start doing all this shit. I mean, it legitimately, maybe I'm hyperbolic. It kind of felt like the end of the last couple of years. I was like, man, it kind of sucks to be growing up now. It seems like there's been a Marxist takeover. I watched the election get stolen. I'm watching these vaccine mandates go out. I'm doing the podcast and I'm seeing censorship. And I was like, fuck, it really can. And then it didn't happen. And it's not like it was a random plan was foiled. Well, I'm going to buy up these two stores and put them together and make a grocery store. And then it doesn't work out. I mean, the powers behind this shit, like the World Economic Forum, like all these the guys in Africa that oppose the vaccine and all those world leaders end up dead. It kind of seemed like the jaws of Satan were closing on Earth. And it was like, all right, well, God put me here for a reason and it's going to suck, but then it won't. It'll just be over. Yeah. It is not nothing that we are not in that right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's not nothing that like Zuckerberg or like Elon buys Twitter. They miss Trump with the bullet. Fucking Zuckerberg goes to Mar-a-Lago and kisses the ring. I mean, these are all surreal things. And then, they're happening. They've been happening since January. So we're kind of getting tolerated to it. But like, dude, it was the jaws were closing and now they're not. And you could say this is a sacrificed win. Okay. But it almost seems like it's a system too large to be controlled. Now, that does not mean that they won't try, and it does not mean that those attempts won't be catastrophic, potentially world-ending. I mean, but last November, man, when Russia shot the Oreshnik, a ballistic missile, and there were no warheads on it, that had never been done in world history. That was insane. I remember seeing that and thinking, oh, it's about to go. It's about to go. And it didn't. So I would say, yeah, man, it's no, the people that are trying to do these things, they're never going to come out and say, actually, it's such a hyper complex system that even with NSA dragnet surveillance, we can't control it. They're not going to say that because who's it? Gorbachev, our power comes from the perception of our power.
Correct.
They're not going to come out and say it's a stochastic system of chaos that you really can't control for more than 3 hours at a time. They want you to think that it's a monolith that controls everything and the CIA is pulling every string. Dude, and it's like, so where does that all go? Because you look at things like Europe and be like, yeah, it seems like they're kind of controlling. And this is kind of simple. I really do think the fact that there are so many goddamn guns in the United States is like a huge thorn in the side. And because you go, well, how come it's not? Well, when people are pushed up against the wall and there is nothing left, they're going to start shooting. And it's how many people enforcing the state's rules, how many no-knocks can you serve before it's like World War I, seeing guys go over the trench. It's like, man, we did no-knocks yesterday, the day before, and the day before. The first guy in the stack got his head taken off. The second guy is paralyzed because some Vietnam vet shot him with a Mosin at 3 feet. The other guy didn't have a gun, but he had some gas canisters. I mean, how many days into like the no-knock gun snagging, or do you have all of a sudden a bunch of guys my age going, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And that's not just me talking because I have no military experience. Fucking Delta Force guys I have on, they're like, no, I can't stop an F-16, but I guarantee you that guy has a family. And you go, oh, gee. And when these guys say this shit, they don't blink. They go, I bet he can bomb my home. I bet it would be really weird. I bet he wouldn't like it if I handed him a glossy of his sleeping son. This is an actual quote from one of them. I bet he won't be too cocky if I hand him a glossy of an infrared reticle on his son's head when he's sleeping. Mm-hmm. Hey, man. And that goes for both ways. If Trump tries to set up an autocracy, there are so many weapons and there are so many people who will get to a point where they go, I truly have nothing left. It is begun. It's no longer hyperbole. They are kicking down doors. You're going to have a lot of guys. And by the way, it's a large population in the United States. It's a bunch of guys who did just what for 20 years? Fought against an insurgency. You have a lot of guys that don't give a fuck and who are going to go out shooting.
Right.
I think that alone is a bulwark that we maybe don't truly understand.
No, I agree.
And it doesn't mean it's good. That doesn't mean it's bad. I just look at it, if it was a game, I'd go, yeah, no, you kind of fucked. They have the weapons, so you're never going to be able to fully use the land. Europe, if the world's Europe, oh yeah. If the world's Europe, yeah, you keep flooding with immigrants, give it another 20 years, give it another 30 years, keep doing AI surveillance, keep doing lockdown measures, keep removing knives, keep indoctrination. Give it enough time, you're going to win this. You look at the United States, I'd go, you know, because ultimately you have to take everything from them if you want full control. And you have a bunch of people who are going to go, I got nothing left. I'm going to make sure I take out one of those guys' heads with me.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It is kind of funny. Like a bunch of rednecks with shotguns could very well be in the war game of how do we take over the planet. You can almost imagine which of these guys going, fucking how many guns are in Mississippi? Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work, dude. Like, I don't know.
I mean, just look at Wisconsin. You got 634,000 gun owners or something like that in Wisconsin.
By the way, that we know of.
Yeah, that we know of. That makes them
the meme of I have 10 guns that the government knows about.
Right. And that makes Wisconsin the 5th largest military in the world.
The United States is less than 5% of the world's population and has over 25% of the world's weapons and something like 50% of the world's ammunition in private hands.
Sure. Isn't that where the Kenosha kid's from?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
And the thing is this, a lot of the Western elites, man, a lot of these guys are old, dying off and whatnot. They're not elite. You see, it's like I don't look at these elites as they're some sort of great brainiacs and with incredible minds of no. I look at them as fucking nut jobs who are at the point of crazy that the potentiality for them breaking something, ruining something going sideways is the bigger issue. These guys don't have fucking control. This is why Brzezinski's last words were, "It's easier to kill a million people than to try to control a million people." You know? That was Brzezinski's last thing, because the technology that they try to use to subvert us is kind of being used against them. There's more people awake now than ever before, and more people have no regard, no respect for the institutions that the prior generations used to jerk off to.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't exist anymore.
As Russ Baker calls it, ruthlessness and incompetence. They're not elite.
They're not elite.
They're dangerous.
They're dangerous.
They're not elite, man.
There's
Michael Jordan's elite.
Yeah.
What's not elite is a guy who maybe has a better jump shot than you, but who will also has no problem tackling you on the court and breaking your leg. That's not Michael Jordan. I'd rather go against the crazy guy than somebody like Michael Jordan when you go, there's nothing I can do to stop them. That's elite.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's our job to hold the line on making sure that we still have the rednecks with the shotguns. Because they, if we didn't hold the line on shows like this, it might just be that the gun laws would change, right? I mean, these kinds of conversations are going to make people aware. Making people aware are going to cause everybody to hold the line. And this is why these shows are important, if you ask me. And this is why the freedom of speech is important, right? And we do live under corporate fascism. The corporations aligned with the state, especially during the 2020 and the COVID, and you get all the cancellations, cancel culture. And that does seem to have scaled back a bit, like we were just talking about. So while we have the voice, as we do right now, it is important for us to have these talks. Now, the disarming of the public in the U.S. is going to be very tall order, but these people think in centuries at a time. Mm-hmm. They're thinking, oh, what can we do next year that will allow us to take the guns from them in 50 years? Yeah, that's how they think.
No, respect the enemy. I'll go one step further and say like shows like this are important, but I would say we're not holding the line. I'd say people like my friends from Georgia or dudes I interview on the show or family up in the mountains in New Hampshire. There is no way to disarm them. They're going to kill you, or they're going to kill themselves in an attempt to kill you. There is no, because holding a line implies it's something that we have to actively do and that we might break. Not dude, they're fucking crazy. Dude, the amount of guys, like the people I've got to hang out with some of them, and the shit they say intentionally away from phones and microphones. Yeah, that's why I always say, I'm like, you can try to take over the, like, good luck. Like, it's, it doesn't mean you don't have to respect them. To respect the enemy, you do have to respect the enemy. But I don't know. It's you ever seen those like videos of the liquid called Oobleck? Oobleck. It's this weird non-Newtonian thing. It kind of looks like oatmeal, and if you just like gently put your hand in, you can. It's like oatmeal. It's just liquid, kind of goopy. But if you punch it, it solidifies. And there's a spectrum of once you apply too much force, it turns into a solid. But if you provide a little less, you can kind of fuck with it. So you can splash your hand in it and then walk across it. I think that's probably what it's now. I think Europe is something more like water, where it's like, yeah, no, you can just fuck. They don't have any weapons. I think that last 1% of 1% of 1% of force, it's like approaching the speed of light. It requires exponentially more energy to get exponentially less increases in velocity. I think an armed populace is something like Oobleck, where you go, all right, Tommy, you're saying that people with guns, where were they in the last 4 years? As fucked as the last 4 years were, it didn't really, it was getting closer to tyranny, but it didn't actually, there weren't real moves. There were no boots on the ground. They were getting there, censorship, all this shit. But they weren't actually starting to like try to take over neighborhoods. I think that's so. And if you were to just not know anything about Oobleck, you'd look at it and go, if you splash it, your hand goes in it. You can even splash it harder. And you'd be like, yeah, it's just liquid. I'm not scared of this shit. All right. And you pull it on, and you're like, watch this shit. And you punch it, and then it breaks your wrist. All it took was that last fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent for all of a sudden this thing that you thought you understood to provide a force that you couldn't go against. I think that's probably what it's like, is people at the breaking point, and there is nothing left to fight for. They go, I'm just going out of like pure spite and anger.
Well, what do you think of Ian Burlingame's kind of comment he's made recently about World War III is actually fought at a cellular level? So what they might be doing is, instead of going after the obvious target of an impossible to do disarmament, is that they're going after us with weakening our society, going after us medically, bad food, medicines that make us sick, things that make us where we can't have children, certain, whatever, jabs, stuff like that. That they're going to come at us with all angles, right? But as long as people continue to have the conversations that make people aware of that, then that, what was that liquid called?
Oobleck.
Oobleck. I was going to say Booblek because whatever. So the Oobleck, I know, I didn't mean for that to be stupid, but it was stupid. So the Oobleck, like, will then, I don't know. I think they're trying to like dissolve that liquid in any way that they can.
And why wouldn't you? It's the right move. If it's a game and you're trying to win, you would do that.
So do we turn into the same psychopath monsters in order to not let them win?
Potentially.
Yeah, where does the line get drawn? I think the line gets drawn with children.
Correct. But I look at something like, I heard a comedian say the other week, and it actually kind of make me think. He goes, the French Revolution wasn't principled. And at first I was like, yeah, no shit. But then it's like, oh, it did start with like legitimate gripes, the fourth estate or the third estate, whichever. Yeah, it started as a controlled burn to get rid of the brush. And then it lit an entire mountain on fire. The reign of terror. Like, if you knew someone who was kind of a politician, maybe your head was off. I think there are unintended consequences, man. Like, and again, as a game, not even like I clearly want things to go good because I think I'm a good human and I think society, like, that's all right. But if I were to just look at it as a game, if this is just a game and I'm just betting on it, like, don't give a fuck at all. It's just a video game and I'm throwing cash on it and I'm just fucking around. I think there are just unintended consequences. And you could say, yeah, but with computers, now you can calculate things out to the nth degree. Yeah, but everyone has computers. So the people fighting you are also calculating out to the nth degree. it kind of seems like a natural law that you can't control it entirely. You also can't have pure like anarchy. Some control is always going to arise. Right? And do we become psychopath? It might get to a point where if it's so bad, people start going. That's what did EM say. You know, when the fragile binds of peace are broken, it's nothing but our murderers versus their murderers. Yeah. It gets to a point where it's no longer about you're fighting for this country or that country, it's now at a point of like, fuck you, I'm putting a bullet in your brain before you. It goes back to caveman. We revert to food, water, pussy. I'll kill you first. Yep. It's kind of when has one species ever completely dominated the planet? You could say Homo sapiens. Yeah, but have we eradicated the rest of the planet? No, we need most of it. Poultry, grain. It almost seems just like a facet of the system. It can't ever purely go one way. That's not good or bad. It just seems to be kind of like what the fabric of this reality is. I don't know. I
look at it biologically. So if you look at humanity itself as an organism, right? Even inside of our own bodies, we have how many different species of bacteria, like there's a symbiosis. But when you look at it, just keep it more simple than that. Let's just make humanity an organism, right? And then you have certain aspects that are maybe human, but we have to take away the human card. And they become parasites and they want to feed off of the rest of us who are just normal people trying to live our lives. And either this organism that we are is able to shake off that parasite and become stronger for it, or that will end very badly otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get these attacks, the way, and this is a thought I've had for a very long time, video game wise, these bacteria think they don't have, it's like a video game for bacteria. Either I can live or die. Like that's what it comes to. And that's how I see it. So that's why I relate to the video game conversation. And I look at it biologically, like either we can fight off the parasite, it'll probably live to fight again. And then we're going to have to get smart and fight it again. Because there are probably some really smart guys towards the top of that hierarchy whose names we probably will never know of.
Mm-hmm.
We'll hear about George Soros and all those idiots. And then, there's the rest of us. And I don't think of myself as somebody who I'm not emotionally, my morals don't exist necessarily because I'm emotionally a good person or anything like that. It is a form of survival that our society continues to be what it is rather than what they want to turn us into. Having children who grow up to live a normal life like I did a long decade ago, and perhaps like you did in a decade after that, having just a fun, normal life, being able to have kids, being able to make my free choices, live a healthy, happy life. Like, I think if that's taken away from us, then we're going to end up where like a whole bunch of people die. And their survival is my survival. Now, maybe I do have some kind of spiritual, emotional, whatever, but in the end, it really does kind of come down to my own survival. And I think I'm one of those people who has the capacity to, make some choices that I wouldn't be proud of out of my own survival. So I get it.
Yeah, 1,000%. I don't doubt that they have some really good fucking psychos, but yeah, I also don't think it's entirely bad that they exist, man. Like, I grew up in a conservative Catholic household, private Catholic school, America's good and all that stuff. But even with that, man, I don't think I'm retarded. I think I'm somewhat intelligent. I never thought of the First Amendment other than like along the lines of like the Pledge of Allegiance or the ABCs or singing the days of the week in kindergarten. Like up till 5 years ago, I was like, yeah, this is the first one, the second one, and George Washington cut down a cherry tree or something. Like it was just kind of like, it's the thing, and you read about it and then you're like, yeah, I get it, but that was 300 years ago and they got powdered wigs. You're like, whatever, dude. Versus now, look how like Now look at the last 5 years, and it's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to stop talking because I know what's right. And if you stop talking, you start getting censorship. As George Washington said, you're led like sheep to the slaughter. You can't stop this. And it also means you got to own a fucking gun. It also means you got to have a line in the sand and understand that there is real evil, and it's probably not a life worth living under. What? Like, what the fuck? Like 5 years, I've been like, what kind of like gay patriotic speech are you giving? But now I'm like, yeah, no, that's where I'll live and die. That wouldn't have happened without the parasitical approach. So I don't know. I kind of look at this stuff and think, how do you get that crazy grandpa that he's still got like a belt fed buried in the backyard? Because he was on Okinawa, and no amount of hippie speeches are gonna. But Dad, that's illegal. Grandpa doesn't give a fuck because he's mowed people down with it, and he thinks or fears, more importantly, fears whether or not he believes it or it's based in reality. He fears that day could come again. Grandpa is not fucking handing that off. So in 50 years, and it's like, man, Grandpa's kind of crazy about, never censoring yourself and always making sure your podcast is stored on 30 different hard drives. You'd be like, yeah, well, if you kind of look at the whole thing that happened in 2020, it kind of makes sense. So is it even bad? No. The last 5 years, it's probably good that it happened. Now, bad when it was happening, but we survived it. And it is proof. What the fuck is Rumble 5 years ago? Did I have to search? I have to do this instead of YouTube? I'm banned from. Oh, come on. What the fuck is this shit? Versus now it's a legitimate competitor pushing back. Elon buys Twitter. Like, what the fuck? Facebook willingly. And here's another thing. Censorship only works when it's wall to wall. You have to cover all of it. It's like covering your window to get a good night's sleep. Like, you have to cover all the sunlight. You can't cover some of it, because if some comes through, it just lights up the room. Elon buys Twitter. Facebook willingly and without being told to called off the censors, because once Elon stopped censoring Twitter, all that shit went there. And now all of a sudden the financial, I guess, disparity of not getting that traffic to your platform, now that trumped everything else. You go, well, Biden's out, Trump's in. These guys I don't believe Zuckerberg had a change of heart. I think he looked at the spreadsheets and went, oh, shit, Q3 is way down.
Yeah,
so that's another thing of like, sometimes you only need to win. It's the Oobleck a little bit. And now everyone else goes, well, they're not censoring anymore. Fuck, they got how much traffic this month? All right, come out, wrap it up. And all right, I've met with Donald Trump, and I agree censorship is bad. He's a fucking cold-hearted. It's a game, and he wants to win the game, and he's going to win it how he can right now.
Yeah, this show goes up on.
Keep interrupting. I keep fucking talking.
No, actually, I think I interrupted you like twice. And when you talk, people like it. That's why you have as many followers as you do. We put this up on X, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble, and normally it goes live on Rumble, but we have some kind of a tech issue there, so I put it up on Rumble afterwards. So we're out on all of them. I think another one that they did, I think Elon did away with a lot of the bots that were going on as well. So what that did was that showed how fake a lot of the advertising was, which caused all the other platforms to have to clean their stuff up. And then there was a bit of a deflation in the advertising revenue. And that's good. That was just money that was being funneled to who knows what for who knows why.
Important point there. If we don't know anything about this, and this is just you and I looking at it, we go, oh, there seems to be, and not good or bad, just absolute value. We would assume that there was a conspiracy to undo censorship. It happened across all these big platforms at once. When in reality, it was one, and everything else just went. It was just natural law. All the water molecules didn't all agree in a conspiracy to fall the same way. It's just gravity. So it took one making a conscious effort. We're not censoring this anymore, and I don't have to. I've got $100 trillion. Fuck off. Then you have all the other platforms going, well, I guess we'll stop too. That wasn't a conspiracy. They just went, all right. And it naturally flowed that way. It just went back to some form or semblance of homeostasis, of equilibrium, of entropic decay. That's not good or bad. It's the game. The universe is going, yeah, I don't really concentration camp or outright freedom, 1776. The universe is like, nah, I want something in the middle, something that's energetically boring.
Yeah, and you also have to think of it from I don't know how much time you guys have left here, but we also have to imagine that we're in a certain way the bad parasite, and as we're the good side of things. We think we're good, maybe they think we're, I don't know, whatever, right? But on our own side of things, like the harder that we hold the line, it might be that the better their tools get at trying to take back over. So it's just a constant, back and forth. And it's like I said, to me, it's just biology. It's two different, plant ecosystems and a forest next to each other and constantly trying to, but it does seem that one of them is like, there's an evil aspect to it because like our side isn't trying to chop off kids' testicles.
Yeah.
And we're not hurting children on our side. Like, and if anybody calls themselves a conservative and hurts children, then they're not on our side either. Like, it's not about conservative and liberal. It's about those of us who are good and who are not. Like, it's pretty simple.
It's been going on since the Great Bombardment period when all the asteroids stopped hitting and the Earth kind of cooled. It's been going on since 2 billion years ago till now. It's just accelerating faster. We see it faster. But that's all any of this shit ever has been. Phospholipid bilayers to anti-ballistic missile systems. It's tit for tat for eternity. That's all it will ever be. And that's fine. It's, again, we think we're the good ones. Let's say they actually believe they're good. Let's pretend that they're not like, Machiavelli. Let's say they just truly sit around. They're like, I just believe in a world where, adult men can rape children. And they're like, I know. It seems like to be like, let's just pretend that exists, right? Let's pretend that reality exists. Everything we're talking about, all the rational laws applies to that too. They would be talking about Oobleck and they wouldn't be wrong. I think it goes both ways. Now, we can say I think it's the right thing. I look at it more coldly. I look at it just like the universe, like flipping a coin. Like, I don't have any emotional attachment to heads or tails. I'm like, what do I rationally think is going to happen? It's probably going to be around a 50%. And there's going to be sways in one direction or the other. And guess what? Right now, it feels like, Trump's in, we're doing this, we're ending the war with Russia, no more censorship. Hey, it's good. Make no goddamn mistake. In 30 years, it's going to swing back the other way because they're going to get way too bold. We're going to have some Bush and Cheney type 2 thing where it's going to go way too far over. It's going to become like Puritan, hyper, like ethno-Christian and it's going to, and I don't even care because I'm a Christian, but hey, guess what? It's going to push back the other way. And the people that start to push back are not going to be wrong. They're going to say, I don't think, religion should be forced down my throat. And they're not even wrong. And then it's going to go forever. It's just going to do it forever.
Yeah. So you got to, either you choose a side or you don't. For me, it's a really easy thing that I do. I can set aside the morality and look at it from a game standpoint, but I have kids, and I think especially those.
And I'm with you. You get to a point where you go, all that being said,
yeah.
You go, if anyone touches it, I don't care if you kill me. I'm going to make sure one of you gets lead through your face and your brain ends up on the wall. So
yeah, as many of you as I can.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, so you got to, and I think it's pretty easy. I think it's a pretty obvious answer for anybody who isn't just a turd. Is that, kids, you got to protect the kids.
But even that is biological.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I love Nutella, but deep down I know that Nutella isn't intrinsically good. It's just really rich in calories. And I'm a biological system with RNA and DNA that wants calories so I don't fucking die. Now I'm with you. I am spiritually with you. Fucking kill them all if they come for the kids. Biologically, it's also just makes sense in terms of Darwinian selection.
Mm-hmm.
We can't go on if we don't make copies of ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, and also it could even be as it could even be as like weird as they're saying, okay, well, it's going to be a giant IQ test, so all the people who are willing to neuter their kids or take this medicine, all of them will not reproduce. They could be like some weird justifying it that way. Who knows what in the world
I kind of think that's what it is.
you think it's a big IQ test?
I floated this a couple of years ago, more as like a fun theory than other. Assuming physics as we know it, and this is where you're going to see the conspiracy. Assuming physics as we know it, and there's no faster than light travel or even communication, right? Voyager is out at the edge of the solar system. It takes like 9 months or like 9 hours, whatever the fuck. All right. Let's say we get to a point where I think the next logical step in human life is expansion amongst the stars. You're going to get to a point where it's not like the U.S. having bases around the world. We're sure they're way over there. Like one of my buddies is in Okinawa right now. Yeah, but you can. There's a command and control, and it's light speed internet. And sure, it's not instantaneous, but it's the light goes around the world 7.5 times per second. It's pretty much, for all intents and purposes, it is the president's powers around the world, chain of command, whatever. You get way out there, start going a light year, 2 light years, 10. You would have to start having commands because there wouldn't be able to be instantaneous feedback. You start to have flow charts. In case of this, you do that. In case, and wait until further instruction. Okay. Well, you're also not on the Earth where we kind of all understand the seasons and the tides and the latitude, longitude. If you start being on an alien world and there are unforeseen problems of insane complexity with no reference point, you're going to need a lot of people who can think for themselves in the absence of direction. If I'm a real psychopath and I'm just looking at Earth as expansion itself, which isn't even kind of totally that bad. If it's like, I just want humanity to go forward, I would do this to destroy all of the genetic sequences of people that don't think for themselves, as well as providing an immune stimulus to really strengthen those that do think for themselves, so I can hurl them off into the abyss, and they don't, when they're on some different planet with some weird gas atmosphere and liquid mercury raining, they don't get on the fucking phone and go, well, I don't know what to do, and wait 25 years, because by the time we get the message, they're dead. It costs $30 trillion to send them there. I would much rather have a guy that goes, all right, so we have some unforeseen variables, but what do we know? We know this, that, and I want someone that thinks for themselves. This might be, if that's the case, I don't even know if I like or dislike that. But what if you really wanted an IQ test to make people think for themselves? That's what I would do in a galactic expansion, assuming that there is no faster than light travel and communication.
Yeah,
this is normally when people stop watching my show. They go, "Oh, he's insane." But
no, actually, there's you're gonna have people who there's always people who are gonna have something negative to say. And that's fine. But the reality is that maybe not this century, maybe not this millennium, but, eventually, I mean, look, we've had our current iteration of society for a couple thousand years, like, and stuff did not change very much from like the year 300 to the year 1300. It was like kind of the same technology. So, and now look at where we're at now, right? And I think is right now a form of quantum communication where there is no latency.
Yeah, electron entanglement, it is instantaneous. So my whole theory doesn't even hold water.
Actually, I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it does hold water because even with that entanglement, let's just say that we're in the world of Dune, which technically is 10,000 years out. Even in the world of, and I like to use Dune as a good reference point because it's a well thought out world. And even in that situation, traveling from world to world was a very difficult thing to do. It required a lot to keep that story from getting too long. So you did have societies that were different from each other. Like you had this group and that group, and you're not going to get that if all you raise are drones. Like this is why we have evolution in species, because if we didn't change, then one thing that would kill one of us would kill all of us. And so, if you want to like shut the people up who are complaining about alien worlds, Rob B, I love you though. You're a good guy, Rob. In the end, like that's a distinct possibility. It's just might have to extrapolate our society into a much farther future. But it also, I think, is applied to situations that can occur right now. Like think about a commando unit, like a detachment that doesn't have any communication with command. Like they're those kind of people. They need to be able to think on the fly, look at the situation, look at their training. They're going to come across something unprecedented. They're going to have to make a call. It just is, so yeah. And what's interesting is that and this really fits that whole crazy, now we're getting way out there and this is fun. So it fits like this weird conspiracy of these parasites are doing a completely emotionless thing to try to develop a society of drones so that they can kill all of those drones off eventually, and then let the rest of us who can think for ourselves actually be the ones to propagate, such that they can, develop a society that can make decisions on its own. And, and I thought of this, these are the kind of things that, like when I'm in bed at night and I got my back and my wife's like, who is he texting? Like, no, I'm looking up like, how many times the elephant blinks, it's those kinds of thoughts that go through my head. And I'm a pretty sober, drug-free person too. It's actually kind of concerning. Well, that's fun though. It's fun to have these talks, but I think it also is functional. I think it's a healthy thing to consider that no matter how warped and twisted these people are, even if they're Satanists, even if Satan is real, like they think they're doing the right thing in their own way. And that's, it is what it is. And if that's the case, then we gotta, we gotta continue to fight against it. And I think sometimes taking a very complex concept like that and boiling it down to a very simple action of basically vigilance and the willingness to say no, the willingness to refuse what they're offering, right? At the risk of losing your job, at the risk of being arrested, you got to stand up at some point, because if you don't, then everybody becomes drones and nobody makes it to the alien system and stays alive.
Correct.
Aliens, V, what do you think?
That's a whole other show, my man. That's a whole
alien planets. Alien planets.
Anyway, gents, we're at the end of the program. Tommy, we got to have you back on, buddy.
I'd love to be back on, man.
Yeah. A lot to discuss. Anyway, guys, you can get all of Tommy's works. Links are in the description box. And with that being said, Cowboy, any last things you want to say? Any shout outs, last minute stuff?
No, I just, Tommy, thank you for coming on. That was really fun.
Yeah,
and, like V said, man, we'd love to have you back.
Dude, please do. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Thank you.
Yeah, or come on to your show too. You have a great show.
Absolutely.
I'd love to. Yeah. It's just this shit. This is all I do.
Nice.
Make it up as I go.
I love it. Freestyle's the way to go, man. Very few people could do that.
So anyway, I can do it. I'll fucking blow my brains out if I had to. Can you imagine trying to make notes for this show?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna start with this. Maybe we can wrap it up in this. The unintended consequences and the insane, unfathomable complexity of a system to take over. Can you imagine if somebody went, you know what, I think they're going to start with an introduction and ask him how he got into podcasting. And I think it's going to end with how do we coordinate with the absence of electron entanglement in intergalactic society. You would look at them and you go, you're fucking high. That was a natural emergent phenomena. I think that's what all of humanity is. It's not orchestra. Now, if I have a incentive for you to think I'm really smart, I'm going to let you know that, I planned all this out. But the reality is none of us knew. We're sitting here flying by the seat of our pants. No fucking idea which way this goes. That's what I think what it's like trying to take over the world. At best, you can surf it as it happens. Best case.
Yeah. Very well said. And with that being said, folks, we're at the end of the show. Take it away, Cowboy.